conclusion of this trade wackiness, because I was a huge James Wiseman stan. So if for some reason the Warriors decide, and Patrick, I think you're right, if we keep GP2, that's a good look for the playoffs. But if for some reason we can't keep him, this is just what we need to either motivate James Wiseman or send him into a lifelong depression. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, your favorite podcast hosts are back. It is I, the Gold-Blooded King, Daniel Hardy. I got my main man, Dubs. How you doing, bro?
Strong to very strong. Thank you.
Yes. And of course, all the way from the UK, Patrick Murray. Pat, how you doing, man?
Yeah, good. Just had like a half-season long nap and, just waking up. So mirroring the Warriors. Let's get it to it.
Yeah. Awesome opportunity for a pod today. As we stand right now, it's we don't know what's happening with this James Wiseman for Gary Payton II trade right now. It appears that the trade was consummated on paper until Gary failed his physical. Now, you guys are always tapped in. Can you give me word on the street? What's happening with this whole situation?
So I did do a lot of digging for the preview, which was just choose your own adventure, right? So there's basically 3 scenarios that they can keep them, they can totally reject the entire trade, or they can like lean on the office to make some portion of the trade go through and break all the rules. So basically, my understanding is what happened is that when Gary Payton arrived to the Warriors facility, he's like, hey guys, by the way, I'm still all busted up inside and I'm taking this like super, super powerful anti-inflammatory injection so that I can play. And they're like, whoa, that's not good. How come we didn't hear about this? And, you go back and it's like Chauncey Billups, I don't know, is he the GM in Portland? But anyway, Chauncey Billups, like a month ago, is like, hey, yeah, he's still hurting, but at some point you got to just push through the pain and go. And there is an aspect to that of coming back from injury, especially as an athlete, right? Like,
dude, my shoulder hurts right now. My neck hurts right now, but here I am doing the do.
Yeah, that's just us being old, Daniel.
Oh.
Although, Gary Payton's 30. So basically, now the rules are that the failed physical started a clock, a 72-hour clock that expires at noon today. We're recording this podcast for everyone at 9 a.m. on Saturday. So we have a few hours before the decision is made. And like we said at the beginning, the Warriors can either say, you know what, we don't even care that you failed your physical. Like, we're keeping it. Go ahead, send the trade through. They can reject it. They can say, hey, this guy failed his physical. Like, screw you, Portland. Everything's off. The Sadiq Bey trade, Knox trade, all that. Everybody goes back home. Or there's sort of a nuclear option, and I couldn't find the name of the guy. Google failed me. But there was some instance where there was a trade and the guy was hurt, and like months later, the NBA came back and like assessed the team like a second round draft pick penalty and gave it to the team that they traded with. So there's some precedent there that maybe the league is just like, this is malpractice, and who wants what? Like, because Marcus Thompson of The Athletic was saying that according to the rules, the trade, the 4-player trade either happens as proposed to the league or it's canceled. And because we're already past the trade deadline, according to the rules, you really shouldn't be able to modify it. But those are their 3 options.
So then, Patrick, my question to you is, with that information in mind, how do we bring back Gary Payton and James Wiseman?
Yeah, that you can't do that. I'm afraid, Daniel, either you're going to be very happy or very sad at noon Pacific time today. I mean, I'd bank on it going through for enough. Like, there are a wide range of reasons that the trade makes some sense. But like primarily, both Marcus Thompson and Monty Ball, who are the 2 of the most plugged in guys, seem to be suggesting in articles they wrote last night that it's probably going to go through. So unless Payton is like so injured he's not going to play this season, if you get him back for the playoffs, look, this guy came back from a fractured elbow, game 2 of the finals. He wasn't supposed to come back that quickly. What, he's out a few weeks? He's supposed to be out, much longer than that. And he changed the series. So like, they know one of the advantages of Gary Payton coming back is they know he fits the system. They don't have to do a ton of integration. They can just slot him in as soon as he's healthy. And there was also another report, I think, that said the 3-month thing that's been floated out there sounded like way over the top. So I think I would bank on it getting done, because I think the other thing is that the luxury tax savings are really quite important for them next season. So to give you an example of what this means, it basically opens the door. As we talked about, I think probably the last time was just after they won the title, and the mood was obviously quite different. But the big question is, can you keep everyone together in the long term? And the thing was, they were going to have to probably move off some money in this upcoming off season to keep everyone together and get decent deals for Wiggins and Poole. Now they signed Wiggins to a very team friendly deal. Poole, we can come on to that, but he's signed. Now they've moved off that money, and actually the difference between Payton's contract next year and Wiseman's contract next year, let's see, would have been 12 million. They're so high in the luxury tax. Actually, they're basically, so I think they're now at let me just pull out the figures, but they're now basically in a range where they can get, if they get a little bit of a discount from Draymond, they can keep everyone. So they're at they need to get down to about 45 million over the luxury tax line, I think, to do this. And all they need to do that is like a 3.5 million discount. So, and that would mean Draymond, say for example, Draymond, yeah, exactly. So you could move someone if this doesn't happen, but like if Draymond opts out to his contract and signs a Wiggins type deal, so what, you got 4 years, 109 million, exact same deal, you could give him that takes them into like they're about 415. So it's a bit over, but again, like they're so far over, you only need to do a few little things to move under 400 million if you're really sticking to that. But like I think it like massively opens the door to them, at least for the next few years, rolling with the core and the players that fit around the core. With young, they haven't given up on the 2 timeline thing. It's just Wiseman. They've still got Kuminga. They've still got all the other young players. So I think for that reason, the trade was about this season and giving them a chance this season, but also about creating the flexibility if they kind of are in a place where they still look like they can contend.
Yes.
To do that next season. And so I think like unless Payton is like it's some kind of career-ending injury, which I don't know, that seems a bit far-fetched, to be honest. It just seems like he needs a bit more rehab, just from the kind of reporting what he said he's been playing. So like it's not like his
doing well too. His on-off splits are fantastic. Like
okay. So for the average fan who can't count and struggles with on-off splits, what the hell is happening with the Warriors right now? Why is the team struggling so much? And how does this trade help us if Gary Payton can't play?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why the Warriors suck this year. And to be fair, they don't actually suck. We're back to like B+ is a pretty good grade because they're not wretched, right? They're slightly above 500. They've dealt with a rash of injuries, and there's some weirdness around the second timeline, if we're being honest, right? The way that Kerr handled his rotation with his young players to start the season, those first 10 games, was just fucking weird, right? Like it's hockey substitution with just a bunch of unproven people, and it didn't work. And then they're like, okay, well, maybe we can mix it up. And, the problem is that because of a variety of reasons, right? You can say that he's not good enough, or that it's the injuries, or like, God, he should have stayed in high school, or he should have stayed in college for longer, or bad timing with COVID, buddy. Like you developed too many of your moves in an empty gym. Whatever it is, Wiseman is just not a great fit on this team, and he's not very good at basketball right now. So he's just sunk costs at this point, right? So the other thing is that the Warriors structured their roster for cost savings, because when they upped Poole, and this may have been what Draymond was punching him in the face over. It causes this projection of financials, right? Where Poole has this huge deal coming up next year. Wiseman has this huge deal coming up next year. And the other thing about Wiseman is that the way his contract options are structured, you would have had to lock him in for the next deal before he actually played next season, I believe. Like,
no, but you're not hearing my question. My question is, why can't we beat trash teams? That's it. Like seriously, these guys have played basketball before. Patrick, you know what I'm talking about here. We've got champions, defending championships. Steph Curry's been on the court. That had nothing to do with James Wiseman's contract. We've seen them blow games left and right. What's that about?
So this reminds me of two things going on here. There's shades of 2018 where they were just bored and like not focused at all, and shades of 2020 where they're just like it didn't fit and it didn't work. And I think, you know, the thing is when they're motivated, they win, right? So they're just not getting motivated. So when they played Boston, they beat them at home, and in Boston they probably, you know, like in Boston are the best team in the league at the moment. They took them to overtime. They probably should have won that game, but it was really close. Play Memphis, all that yapping, beat them down twice. So, you know, well, the second one was a bit closer, but like, you know, they won those games. So I think there's kind of a number of things going on why they can't beat trash teams. One is like the focus and the I think there's a lot of bad vibes around this team actually at the moment, and that is why like
in a championship season.
Yeah. So that is why Payton coming back actually helps. A bit like Bogut coming back at the end of the 2018-19 season. If you remember, there were a lot of bad vibes around that team because all the stuff with Kevin Durant and Draymond Green and, you know, all of that stuff. But they brought Bogut back to kind of solidify the locker room a little bit. So I think it gives them a bit of a reset moment, even if he can't play for a while. I think he will be able to play in the regular season. You know, it'd be unfortunate he can't play right away, but I think it does help in terms of chemistry, a bit of a reset. You know, he's got the relationship with a lot of the guys already, so I think that's really helpful. But I think that like that's one reason. I think the other thing is just like if you go through. I mean, I agree. Kerr's substitution like lineups in the beginning were just ridiculous. Like Jermichael Green as a 3, like who nobody could seriously think that was ever going to work. It was almost as if you were kind of you know,
Sabotage.
You were like deliberately like playing. You want me to play all these young guys? Fine, I'll play these young guys. I'll play them so much you can't possibly ever play them again, kind of thing. So they
call that malicious compliance.
Yeah, right, exactly. But
whoa, that's a great phrase. Malicious compliance. That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of things that I think have sunk the season, have caused them a lot of problems. So injuries, one. Wiggins, obviously, like he's been out, he got injured, Huge. He had the illness. Like he's a massive piece of the puzzle. The second was Clay really pressing at the beginning and like chucking away. Clay about a year removed from his injury, is looking pretty damn good. So he's kind of come through that. I think the remaining thing. So if they get Wiggins back up to speed, and I think that'll take some time, but it's about rhythm. It's about, you know, just getting him back on the court and healthy. I think he'll be fine by the playoffs. The big problem right now, I think, is Jordan Poole and like just the recklessness of the.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow. Censored by Joe Lacob.
Joe Lacob just knocked out Patrick Murray. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a sign for us to end this cast. Wow. Dubs. Final. Oh, Patrick's back.
Final.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, that was scary. Patrick, we were scared.
You lost me. Can you?
You're back.
Right, I'm back. So I think the big problem right now is Jordan Poole, actually, in terms of, you know, his recklessness and the way he's been playing. And I think maybe this period with Steph Curry out will help him kind of reset that. And you know, I still think even if they're coming out the play-in, which I think we've got to resign ourselves to the reality, that's probably where they're going to be, because, you know, with Steph's out and, you know, but the teams above them have made some moves. But I still think coming out that if you've got a 10-man rotation with Wiggins back healthy, Clay playing like he is now, Steph and Draymond Green fine, and Jordan Poole kind of less reckless, and then the defensive pieces around that, Kuminga continuing to improve. If you get Payton back will be key. I think I still don't want to see them in the playoffs, and I'm rolling with that team until someone beats them. They are the champions for a reason. And they've got the same piece. So they just got to get there. You know, that's their one piece.
If we could go back for a second to Daniel's initial question. Right, Daniel, can I have a second shot at this?
Go ahead.
Okay. So listen. So why do the Warriors suck? The Warriors are built around their core being good, right? Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Kayvon Looney, Jordan Poole, Draymond Green. That's 6 guys, right? You got a couple like Kuminga's probably pretty playable. Jermichael can probably cover some spot minutes as a big. That's a 7 or 8 deep rotation, which is fine for the playoffs. But then if you have a couple of those 7 or 8 and they happen to be the best, most important guys like Draymond and Steph and Curry, all of a sudden you're dipping down to the, you know, if Green is good, like there's a lot of red boxes down at the bottom of the roster after those guys. Like if you're talking on-off splits, like these guys just hurt our chances of winning right now. So it's set up to be a playable playoff roster, but it wears really thin around the edges especially given that our veterans are hurt. Draymond Green's been dealing with like back and like calf muscle things. And, Curry is obviously going through it right now. Wiggins got cursed by whatever that weird non-COVID sickness was. He missed like almost a month, I think. Like these are significant factors, and there's not a lot of margin for error.
That's real. Okay. Well, now that I know that the Warriors aren't motivated by the regular season and have a roster that's actually built for the playoffs, when did the playoffs start? Like what, April?
Yeah, April, like end of April.
And we're in the beginning of February right now? Huh. Okay. So that means we have like 2 more months of basketball where it may not be that entertaining. But we've been through this before. We've watched trash basketball before, and we survived. Look at us. We were born into this trash basketball. Look around. This is Oracle, baby. What? You have any trash basketball games I'm watching here? Okay.
Chris Gatling.
So, all right. I think to close this out, the lessons that I learned today will help me to understand that it's okay if we lose a bunch of games to the Magic or the Pistons. But I can't wait to do our next podcast as we get the conclusion of this trade wackiness, because I was a huge James Wiseman stan. So if for some reason the Warriors decide, and Patrick, I think you're right, if we keep GP2, that's a good look for the playoffs. But if for some reason we can't keep him, this is just what we need to either motivate James Wiseman or send him into a lifelong depression.